All right, Manitoba, welcome back to another episode, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're having a wonderful day as always. Real fast, Manitoba, like, share, subscribe, do that good stuff that helps out the show, especially sharing. Really does help. The big ask, Manitoba, would be go to Rumble and watch this and share that link. Fighting the inevitable Facebook ban. That's Manitoba Freethinker Podcast on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. If you want to follow me on X and TikTok, that's MB Freethinker. I'm on all audio only platforms, Manitoba Freethinker Podcast, or you can go to mbftmedia.ca, get all the links there. All right, Manitoba. So the Manitoba Winter Fair is coming next week, and it is not without controversy. Actually, before I start, Manitoba, today is the first day of spring, and it has been years since we've had a spring with no snow. I mean, there's still snow, but I mean, there is grass everywhere. I am loving it. Comment below, Manitoba, when is the last time you guys remember having a spring like this? I mean, at least a decade, I think, since we've seen this much green on the first day of spring. But like I said, Manitoba, the Royal Manitoba Winter Fair is coming next week, and like always, it is already being thwarted with controversy, let's say. But I will just read to you from Raquel Squires, who is a 7.5-year former PC conservative, so she knows a little bit about this. But from the Winnipeg Free Press, there are several events on the social calendar that are popular with politicians, but few as pertinent as the Royal Manitoba Winter Fair in Brandon. Billed as the spring break tradition for over 115 years, it's the place to see and be seen during the upcoming week off for the legislators. For the upcoming week off from the legislator for MLAs. Attendance may not be mandatory or even feel relevant for those representing constituencies far from the provincial exhibition in the heart of Brandon, but for politicians not wanting to risk unflattering statements being made about their commitments to the people they serve, you can bet they're heading west next province. So like I said, Manitoba, I'm sure you guys have seen all of the articles already relating to the let's call it the treatment of animals and inhumane sheep calf wrangling events at Royal Manitoba Winter Fair, says animal advocates. Manitoba Winter Fair downplays accusations of animal cruelty. And another one is Manitoba Winter Fair should halt inhumane sheep wrangling, calf events, and says animal rights groups. All right. So let's take a look. Let's see what they're talking about. From CTV News, animal groups call for the end of wrangling events at Royal Manitoba Winter Fair. A handful of animal welfare groups are once again calling for the end of a wrangling event for kids and youth at the Royal Manitoba Winter Fair in Brandon. Both the Winnipeg and Brandon Humane Societies, along with the National Animal Justice Group, are demanding the organization drop its calf scramble and sheep wrangling events, saying both are cruel to animals. Excuse me. Quote, these events in particular include very young prey animals, and they're not desensitized to the stimulation of being in those noisy, bright arenas filled with crowds, said Brittany Semenik of the Winnipeg Humane Society. On top of that, they're being chased, grabbed, and ridden by children and young adults, so it causes them to be in a very frenzied state, and it's something that doesn't need to take place in 2024. Semenik said if people looked at the event from the animals' viewpoint, they would conclude that these events shouldn't be taking place. Okay, well, that is an insane statement to make, Manitoba. We should not be looking at this from the animals' point of view. We wouldn't have farming, or we wouldn't eat meat. That was the case. Quote, is the animal partaking in the event voluntary, or is the animal being forced to take part? She said, Does this event provide any sort of education component, or is it purely for viewer entertainment? So once we start to look at these events from the animal's perspective, which we are seeing the public do more and more, we are seeing more people speak out against these types of things. However, the head of the provincial exhibition of Manitoba said the events are being mischaracterized. General Manager Mark Humphrey said the events, which used to be called scrambles, have been renamed to reflect the fact that there is no wrestling of the animals or tying of limbs. Quote, these kids get to manipulate sheep either into pens or get them to do a bit of training, and that's what we do, he said. Every animal that's on the farm ends up going into some penning during its life to either be tracked, to be looked after, to be examined, to be gathered up for market, so the kids try to replicate that. Humphreys added, animal protection officers and the chief veterinarian officer are on hand each year to ensure the well-being of animals. Quote, we asked them to be rigorous in their review, he said. They gave us feedback throughout the event. They gave us, obviously, a debrief at the end. And I can quite happily tell you that we did not contravene any part of the Animal Care Act. And in fact, that our standing operating procedures and documents have been shared with other fairs because they're extremely good order. Both Humphreys and the Humane Society said they haven't actually spoken to each other, but are open to doing so. Manitoba, the fair runs from March 25th to March 30th. And like I said, or according to Rachel Squires, your local MLA should be, for the most part, in an attendance. So if you guys are unhappy with anything going on, let's say maybe the 23% carbon tax that's about to be imposed on all Manitobans come April 1st, maybe let your MLA know how you feel in a polite and respectful way, of course. But Manitoba, so while this event, which is so docile, you know what I mean, Manitoba? It's farming, kids herding sheep and cattle. There are so many worse things that the media can be focusing on. For example, Manitoba, we still have a baby seal hunt in Manitoba. And what you're seeing on the screen, Manitoba, is the tool used for hunting. And they want to advocate against the wrangling of sheep. Does that make any sense, Manitoba? From the government of Canada, excuse me. Wow, I'm losing my voice. Canadian harvesting practices are among the best in the world. They are guided by rigorous animal welfare principles that are internationally recognized by independent observers. Manitoba, I'm going to show you what's going on, so beware. So keep in mind what the government is saying. Again, people are protesting general farming practices. The government of Canada has strict science-based regulations which are reviewed regularly to ensure a humane harvest. In 2019, a number of amendments to the Marine Mammal Regulations, or the MMR, came into force to further enhance the humaneness of the Canadian seal harvest. The amendments were developed based on recommendations from the Independent Veterinarians Working Group with members from Canada, France, and the United States, and Netherlands, United Kingdom, blah, blah, blah. Canada's science-based three-step process ensures that animals are harvested quickly and humanely. Developed and implemented based on the recommendations from the Independent Veterinarians Working Group, the three-step process is humane, if not more so, than most other methods of dispatching wild or domesticated animals in the world. That is the biggest bullshit lie that I've heard the government say in a long time. This is not more humane than other practices, especially general hunting practices. They used high caliber rifles. All harvesters wishing to participate in the commercial seal harvest must complete a training on the three-step process for harvesting seals set out by the MMR in order to renew their license. The three-step process also applies to harvesters with personal use license. The three steps are striking. The seal harvesters must shoot or strike animals on the top of the cranium, either with a firearm or a hack-a-pick or club. Why isn't it not just with a firearm? But they want to include a hack-a-pick or club, which is insane. Checking. Number 2, checking. The seal harvesters must palpitate both the left and right halves of the cranium following striking either with a firearm, hack-a-pick, or club to ensure the skull has been crushed. This ensures the seal is irreversibly unconscious or dead. 3, bleeding. The seal harvester must bleed the animal by severing the 2 auxiliary arteries located beneath the front flippers and must allow a minimum of 1 minute to pass before skinning the animal. Bleeding ensures the seal is dead. Tools used for harvesting. The MMR stipulate that only high-powered rifles, shotguns, firing stubs, clubs, or hack-a-picks may be used in the seal harvest. And Manitoba, remember, that is a hack-a-pick. I do not understand why this has to be included. So Manitoba, while they're going to be getting upset for the Manitoba Winter Fair and the farming practices, this Manitoba is going on. And viewer discretion, I'm going to play a video. It is of how they hunt seals. So, viewer discretion, I guess, is advised. All right, speaking of hack-a-pick, in a just world, former Winnipeg football coach apologizes to players he sexually abused for, quote, hurt and betrayal. From CBC News, a former high school football coach who pleaded guilty to sexually abusing players apologized to them for the first time in a Winnipeg courtroom on Wednesday. Quote, I would like to apologize to all the victims and their families for all the hurt, grief, shame, and sorrow that it caused them, Kelsey McKay read from a statement during a sentencing hearing in the Manitoba Provincial Court. I know this hurt and betrayal will affect them will affect all of them for the rest of their lives, he said, reading from the statement but not turning around to face the audience as he did. 100% of the responsibility lies with me. McKay, 53, pleaded guilty last year to 11 charges, 9 counts of sexual assault, and 2 charges of luring in connection with the abuse of 9 former football players, most between 15 and 18 years old. He coached between 2003 and 2016. CBC is not naming them because of the publication ban. McKay, who was arrested in April 22, was a teacher and a prominent figure in Winnipeg's football community. He was promoted to head coach at Churchill High School in 2003 before he went to Vincent Massey College in Winnipeg in 2009. In an agreed statement of facts, Crown Prosecutor Katie Dojak said McKay would invite players to his home where he would show them pornography, massage them, and touch their genitals. During the address to Judge Raymond White on Wednesday, McKay's lawyer Josh Weinstein and Lisa Labossiere railed against the 25-year sentence proposed by Dojak, calling it excessive and crushing given McKay's age and his guilty plea. Real fast, Manitoba, what? What are we talking about? How is 25-year sentence excessive or crushing? Who the fuck cares about his age? He obviously got away with this for a long time, but it doesn't matter. It does not fucking matter. And who cares if he pleaded guilty? Who the fuck cares? This guy should minimum Manitoba get 25 years. Or in a just world, just saying, Weinstein said McKay's guilty plea should be a significant factor to his credit in his sentencing, since he did not know what sentence the Crown would ask. But he knows it's Canada, okay? Like, come on. Weinstein also suggested McKay save the court of resources since he opted not to go to trial. McKay did not have a criminal record prior to his arrest, but has since suffered emotionally and economically after losing his employment and his house. Boo fucking who. He added that McKay's... This is mind-blowing, Manitoba. Pay attention. He added that McKay's Métis ancestry and the fact that his parents attended Catholic day school should be considered. Is that not the most virtue signaling statement ever? Let's give this fucking pedophile a break because he's Métis and his parents went to Catholic day school, as if that automatically means something negative. As if there aren't Catholic schools now. And we're talking about pedophilia. Essaying and R-ing kids, minorities. And these people want to take in the fact that he's Métis. What are we talking about, Manitoba? He also told the court McKay, quote, is not a lost cause since the former coach has expressed remorse several times about the abuse. This is a journey and this is not an easy straight line, said Weinstein. He recognizes where he is and where he needs to get to. Crown Prosecutor Dojak told the court systematic factors do not affect McKay's guilt for his crimes and there were no indications of abuse during his childhood. McKay created a psychologically dangerous environment for high school players and had opportunities to stop his abuse at any time, said Dojak. All of the evidence has shown that McKay was in control of his thoughts and actions throughout the years of abuse, she said. He has no history of mental health challenges, no cognitive limitations, no history of substance abuse issues, and he regularly used psychological manipulation, the prosecutor said. She also proposed that McKay be required to stay at least 200 meters away from schools and daycares, be prohibited from contacting his victims, and forbidden from using the internet or any technology to access images or videos of minors. McKay promised in his statement that he would be responsible and a positive member of society. My goal for the future is to learn more about myself and the causes, events, and circumstances that regrettably have brought us to this moment, he said. Some of McKay's victims and their family members delivered victim impact statements in court on Tuesday. The first day of his sentencing hearing included a mother of a man who took his own life nearly 2 decades after McKay's abuse. Judge Wines asked McKay's lawyers how they thought he should address the man's suicide in McKay's sentencing, which he described as, quote, collateral consequence of McKay's action. Labrosi said giving McKay a sentence similar to murder for the man's suicide would be, quote, an error in law. Wyatt will sentence McKay at a later date. So, Manitoba, do you guys think that this piece of shit has any value to society if he's not given a 25-year sentence? The damage that he did is, first of all, irreversible and far, far, far outweighs any sort of good he could do for society in, let's say, 15 years if he gets out. Do you really think that he has any value to society, Manitoba? This should be bottom line, 25 years. Everyone should be on board. Like, this is so disturbing. But, I don't fault the defense attorney. They got to do what they got to do. But this guy should not be giving any sort of sympathy at all. All right, Manitoba, in another crazy story, I mean, could you imagine, Manitoba, if this happened to you? Switched at birth. Right here in Manitoba. Like, that is mind-blowing to me. Just 1 second, Manitoba. Oh yeah, real fast, Manitoba. This is a live show Tuesday and Thursday, 9 p.m. Share it with your friends. Join me Tuesday and Thursday live at 9 p.m. And so I'll continue. Long time coming, Manitoba Premier apologizes to two men switched at birth in 1955. Wow, that is mind-blowing. Manitoba, real fast for a second, could you imagine in your 60s or actually at any point in time finding out that you were switched at birth? That is so... I couldn't imagine the roller coaster of emotions that everyone in both these families are feeling. Not just the two men, but the like the mom, the dad, the brothers, the sisters. Man, the emotions that must be going through for these families. My heart goes out to them. Manitoba's premier has officially apologized to two men who were switched at birth in a Manitoba hospital more than 60 years ago. Wab Canoe stood in the Manitoba Ledge to deliver the apology to Edward Ambrose and Richard Beauvoir, who were born on the same day in 1955 in Arborg, Manitoba, but went home with different parents. I rise today to deliver an apology that has been a long time coming for actions that harmed two children, two sets of parents, and two families across many generations, Canoe told the two men, who were seated in the legislature Thursday afternoon. In 2022, Beauvoir, who was raised a Métis, took an at-home ancestry kit he got as a gift. It came back saying he was Ukrainian and Jewish. That same year, Ambrosie's sister, who did an at-home ancestry kit, her results showed a brother living in British Columbia, which turned out to be Beauvoir. The news upended both men's lives as they tried to navigate their past and what it meant for their futures. Quote, "We sincerely apologize for our failure to care for you, to protect you, to ensure you would grow up with the love of the families that welcomed you into this world," Canoe said. So that's the two men right there, Manitoba. Ambrosie, who was raised Ukrainian, became a member of the Manitoba Métis Federation in February 2024 after learning of his true heritage. David Chartrand, president of the MMF, said it will still be challenging for Ambrosie to fully connect with his heritage after nearly 70 years, but he is working hard. Quote, "You could see how hungry he is in the sense of trying to find truly who he really is," Chartrand said. "He is really adapting very well." Chartrand said he is proud Ambrosie has learned his history. Quote, "At the end of the day, we'll do everything in our power to make sure Mr. Ambrosie is truly feeling like he is home." The two men praised Canoe following the apology. "I would like to say thank you to Mr. Canoe," Beauvoir said. "I thought he did an excellent job not only at the speech, but also when we met him before," end quote. "It was what I was looking for," Ambrosie said. Get this, Manitoba. The men's case is the third known case of babies switched at birth in Manitoba. This is the third known case. How many are out there? Norman Barkman and Luke Monet of Garden Hills First Nation, a flying community 400 kilometers northeast of Winnipeg, revealed in 2015 that DNA tests proved that they were switched at birth at the Norway House Indian Hospital in 1975. Later DNA tests showed the two men from Norway House Cree Nation, Leon Swanson and David Tatt Jr., were switched at birth at the same hospital earlier that year. Wow. Third known case, Manitoba. Again, take a moment and think how you guys would feel if you guys found out someone, maybe not even you, but just someone in your family had been switched at birth. That is just so mind-blowing to me. But Manitoba, there are more people that Wab Canoe owes an apology to. And this woman, this Winnipeg woman, is definitely another one. And actually anyone that uses our healthcare system, or anyone that has a loved one that uses our healthcare system, aka everyone. Wab Canoe owes an apology to everyone. Winnipeg woman says awful stay at Grace Hospital ER led her to start online petition. Again, Manitoba, they keep coming off as they're winning and they're actually solving anything. This is a real life story of a real person being affected by the failures of the Manitoba healthcare system. Shauna Forster-Smith says a life-threatening experience at a Winnipeg hospital led her to start a petition to draw attention to the state of healthcare in Manitoba. Forster-Smith, 41, was diagnosed with gastroparesis and pseudo-obstruction in 2009. That means her intestines don't work properly and she gets her nutrition through an intravenous line. While she is currently a resident of the chronic care unit at the long-term care facility at Deer Lodge Center, her health condition requires her to frequent hospitals for emergency care, with the last time occurring over 3 days in the first weekend of March, she said. Quote, I started going septic and going into shock, so they called an ambulance and I was taken to the Grace Hospital. And what I experienced was just awful. Forrester Smith says the Grace's emergency room was packed and the number of people waiting for a bed was insane. Staff also couldn't say when she would get a bed, which troubled her since she could only be fed through an intravenous line. Quote, so I'm fighting a life-threatening infection, I have sepsis, and I'm not getting any nutrition, end quote. When she did get a bed, Forrester Smith says staff were too overwhelmed with patients to dispense her scheduled medications on time, leaving her in pain for most of her stay. Quote, my nurse had 9 patients. How do you look after 9 patients in the ER when all of them are really, really sick? She said. I listened to somebody's IV pump alarm for over 8 hours. So for over 8 hours, somebody wasn't get their IV fluids or whatever medication they were supposed to be getting because I listened to that pump beep and nobody went and fixed it until the next shift. Like it was insane, end quote. Forrester Smith says there was a number of issues with care she received at the Grace ER, but she doesn't blame the staff because, quote, they couldn't do a better job since there were so many patients and there just wasn't enough time. She started a petition to call for government, the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority, and Shared Health to address concerns facing Manitoba's healthcare system, including staff issues, excessive ER wait times, and access blocks when patients are admitted with no beds available. WRHA spokesperson thanked Forrester Smith for her advocacy in a Tuesday statement to CBC News. Quote, we share her concern about wait times and access block and know about waiting for hours for care in our emergency departments and urgent care centers is difficult and frustrating. Work also continues addressing staffing and patients' care at Winnipeg hospitals, including 36 more acute care beds at St. Boniface Hospital and 31 new beds at the Grace, as well as a number of staff recruitment, retention, and wellness programs, the spokesperson said. Health Authority wants to remind people to continue to seek help during an emergency by calling 911 or by going to the ER department or urgent care center where the sickest and most injured patients continue to be prioritized. 10% of patients at the Grace Hospital and Health Science Center ER waited about 12 hours for care in January. The same percentage of patients waited 16 hours for care that same month at the St. Boniface Hospital ER. Wow. Forrester Smith has been a frequent flyer at Winnipeg ER since 2009 diagnosis, but says she has never had an experience like her weekend at the Grace over the years. I was actually crying. I didn't want to go. I knew it was going to be a bad experience. She felt sympathy for the nurse and healthcare aides who were at her bedside, saying although they were overwhelmed, she also got a sense of a lot of guilt. They knew they were late with medication. They knew I was waiting in pain. They knew that my dressing was soaked in bile and the bile was eating my skin around my stomach, but they couldn't do anything about it, she said. Quote, we need to really act on this because if we don't do something about this soon, it's going to get even worse. We're going to lose even more staff and it's going to keep spiraling out of control. So Manitoba, keep that in mind when they want to keep coming off. When our health minister, Uzagama, I don't know. I could say her name when I see it in front of me, but I always forget her name. But our health minister, when she goes in front of the camera and says that she's delivering for Manitobans, we should all think of this lady from Winnipeg, Forrester Smith, who is a prime example of one of thousands of Manitobans and what's really going on. So, and okay, Manitoba, what time we at? 32 minutes. I'm just going to talk about one more story. I mean, I guess crime doesn't always pay, but this is kind of another crazy story in Manitoba. So I want to end off in kind of a lighter note. It's not a good story, but I mean, it's not death and destruction. Former UPS worker charged after allegedly stealing and reselling 1.3 million in Apple products. Like, this guy was living it up. A former United Parcel Service worker is facing charges after allegedly stealing and reselling 1.3 million in Apple products from a Winnipeg warehouse. Court documents show that between July 2023 and January 24, 30-year-old Orville Martinez Beltrano allegedly stole approximately 866 Apple products valued at 1.3 million from a UPS warehouse on King Edward Street, where he worked since 2013 as a local sorting supervisor until his employment with UPS was terminated. So this guy was a supervisor. Beltrano allegedly then sold the products on Kijiji, taking payments in cash or e-transfers. The court documents show that between September and January, Beltrano made cash deposits totaling more than $232,000 into his bank account. On January 22, Beltrano was arrested by Winnipeg police and charged with theft under $5,000, possession of property obtained by crime over $5,000, and possession of the proceeds of crime. On January 23rd, officers executed a search warrant for his South Winnipeg home and his vehicle, where they found $9,000 in cash that was bundled in a Nike bag in his vehicle, Mac laptop, jewelry valued at more than $9,100. The document indicated that in a videotaped interview with police, Beltrano admitted to stealing Apple products from the warehouse as well as the jewelry. He also admitted that the cash seized from the vehicle was derived from the sales of the stolen Apple products. In the statement of claim also said Beltrano used the money from selling the stolen items to purchase a home in Winnipeg's South Point neighborhood in January for $630,000 and to pay off the debt of a white Audi hatchback that was purchased in 2021 for $60,000. So, I mean, this guy really tried to enjoy his profit at least. Over a $500,000 house and a brand new, or not a brand new, but a $60,000 vehicle. The court application is seeking a judge's approval to allow officials to seize Beltrano's house, Audi, $9,000 in cash, and bank accounts. So, at the very end, the NDP government might be the winners. But all right, Manitoba, so we're just over a half hour. Thank you guys for tuning in to another show. Like I said, this is a live show Tuesday and Thursday, 9 p.m. Share it. And like I said, Manitoba, the big ask would be go to Rumble, the best place to watch it. But either way, Manitoba, so like I said, I sometimes go live on Saturday, but definitely will go live again next Tuesday, 9 o'clock. Guests are coming soon, Manitoba, so please stay tuned. We're going to start having some Manitobans on the podcast. All right, Manitoba, I love you guys so much, and I will catch you guys in the next one.